What does it actually look like to discover who you are? And why is it so important to get to know yourself of all times now when there's so much uncertainty? Well, we've been socialized, especially Black women, we've been socialized to consider everyone else's needs and expectations over our own. Everything from family, friends, to professional settings, our bosses, our peers, we're taught that their thoughts, opinions, ideas, and needs and preferences are the most important thing, and our survival depends on it. That survival piece is really crucial because that's why it's so hard to center our own needs, our own opinions, our own perspectives. And right now, Black women are tapping into entrepreneurship more than ever. And yes, most businesses technically do fail, but more businesses than ever now exist, many of them founded by Black women. Black women have been entering the venture capital space. Black women are founders of major media conglomerates and production companies, major CPG brands. Black women are taking the center stage. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the success that exists amongst us and recognize patterns of what's actually working for us. Because when you've built a life that's based on someone else's standards, even when you're experiencing success, it still feels off. If you've ever found yourself in a position where objectively your friends, your family, your community says, but you have everything. You have the life, you have the money, you have the comfort, you have the car, you have the house, you have the man, you have the kids, and you're asking yourself, well, why doesn't it feel great? Well, simply you've built someone else's life. Maybe not in its entirety, but some aspect of your life is for someone else. I've even worked with clients where we were filming long format content and they would always find an excuse to back out of filming or get an employee to do it. And on some level, there was an aspect of their business that didn't feel aligned, and continuing to talk about it felt like they were scaling their problems or scaling that misalignment. So whenever I'm working with people one-on-one in a coaching capacity, I work on this self-discovery process. So the first step is that we have to identify what it is that you actually like. Even if it's not professionally related, what do you actually like to spend your time doing? Those are all breadcrumbs that lead us to our passion or lead us to the way we need to structure our day so that it becomes a regular part of our day. A lot of times things that seem like a hobby or an interest or curiosity actually turn out to be foundational value systems that we have, but we weren't taught to find it as important. We weren't taught to center our lives around those things. A clear example of this is the fact that I absolutely love food. More importantly, I love dining out. I love experiencing the storytelling that happens on a tasting menu, wine pairings, cocktails. I love how restaurants curate experiences from the interior space down to the last dessert plate. I think all of that stuff is honestly the most beautiful form of theater that we experience right now in the today of things. But I thought that I just loved to eat. In the beginning, I thought, well, who doesn't love good food? Actually, lots of people. Lots of people would rather just order something on Grubhub or DoorDash and just get full. Lots of people can survive off of chicken breast and broccoli and they'll be fine. I was never that way. I always experienced a ton of palate fatigue. And what I realized too is it was also a mental thing for me. It wasn't just the taste and the experience of eating. And so finally, when I allowed myself to value that more and to say, actually, anyone who's close to me has to also value this and find this to be very important. Then one step later, it said, well, maybe I can work with these restaurants. Then I started making videos for them. I started shooting food photography for them. Then I ended up shooting the food photography for a cookbook, My Creole-Cali Kitchen, which is now everywhere books are sold. Then I started thinking, well, how else can I work with restaurants? And now my business is very much so integrated into restaurant culture. So you see how what started out as I like to eat turned into something so much bigger. That might not be the exact path for you, but it's definitely an example of how a breadcrumb can turn into a feast, right? So what are those things that absolutely light you up? What are those things that get you in flow? And if you can't answer that, then what are you interested in? What are you curious about? What's something that garners jealousy in you when you see it in other people? Something that you go, well, everyone can't have that. Of course, it'd be nice to have that. Write those things down, because those things are tied back to the things that need to be foundationally integrated into your life. It's really hard to make content and branding decisions and creative decisions when you don't know who you are. I don't care if you're the CMO at a major media conglomerate. You need to know who you are to know how to build a team around you, to know how to lead, to know where your weaknesses are, to know how you communicate. You need to know who you are when you're pitching a vision. You need to know who you are so you understand who to partner with. Self-awareness is at the core and foundation of everything. And that's why I always start there in my one-on-one work. Next, once you know who you are, or once you have some ideas and starting places about who you are, then we can ask ourselves, how do we integrate this into your life? How does this become not something you only do on vacation, but an aspect of your life, step by step? And then the last piece is, and how can we center our lives around this? Whether it's a feeling, an activity, or group of people, an aspect of your life, how can we center your life around this? Here's another example of that last piece. I love to learn. It's a goal of mine, and a goal that I've achieved many times, but continuously always a goal to always be learning. I love to read, I love to take courses, and I love to immerse myself in a learning experience. So something that I do is whenever I take on jobs, I make sure that it's something that's teaching me something. Even if it's like a technique about how to make bread, I always take on work that exposes me to something that I never knew about, or exposes me to people who think differently than me, so that every single day when I'm working with people, I'm also learning. I love learning so much that it has to be integrated in every aspect of what I do. That's a perfect example of how something that is specifically for your need can end up being your entire life, outside of me just taking courses and reading. But now, no matter where I turn, someone's going to teach me something. Everyone gets to be my mentor. And that's awesome, because I don't have to seek that out. It's just kind of baked into my day-to-day reality, right? This is how you create alignment in your life. This is how you wake up every day and look forward to the day that you're going to have. This is also when you're having bad days, you can say, the bad day is just today. It doesn't mean that my life sucks. It doesn't mean that everything sucks. I'm just having a bad day, and tomorrow I'm going to pick myself up and try again. You know, integrating the things that are important to you and centering your life around the things that are uniquely for you gives you resilience, it gives you purpose, it gives you alignment, it feels good. And honestly, it's the best place to create from, to sell from, and to build from. And that's why I always start there in my one-on-one work. So if you're interested in coaching from a creative and branding perspective, then check the links in my description box and let's have a conversation about how we can help you do a little bit of self-discovery so that you can show up as a better leader.